Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Namo Saranto Suchedo Ye Ulahadi San Miao San Puto Xie. Namo Tak Tak Tha To Ya Da Ya La De Tam Miao Tam Bo Da Toa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I am able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu sheng 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 wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu wo jin jian wen de shou qu Yuan Jie Ru Lai Zheng Shu Yi. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master Qing Liang, Great Master Hsuan-Hua, all good monks and nuns, and all good knowing advisors of Ame-Tofo. 诸佛菩萨、精良大士、师父上人、各位出家人、各位善知识、阿弥陀佛。Chư Phật Bồ Tát, kính thưa Thanh Lương Đại sư Vô Thượng Tiến Hóa, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Hello everyone, today is, what day is today? The 7th of February 2025. We're here at Way Mountain Temple to continue investigating the prologue to the Avatamsaka Sutra prepared by Great Master Qing Liang. And with explanation from Master Hsuan-Hua, it's a fantastic opportunity to study about this wonderful Dharma called the Flower Adornment Sutra. So thank you all for giving us that chance. Right now we're on slide 1249. This section here is endless, so don't worry. The Dharma is ingested by bits and pieces. Don't worry about trying to understand too much. Whatever bits and pieces you learn, that's good enough. And eventually, when your true wisdom unfolds, you will naturally be able to see the connection between them. Okay? And of course, we're here to help you see the connection and build, assemble the puzzle if your curiosity arises. So, but the Mahayana teaching is so vast, like an ocean. There's no beginning, there's no end. You're in the midst of it once you enter it. And so don't worry about understanding. It's more about absorbing and letting the great seeds, prajna seeds, vajra seeds, enter your system, enter your consciousness. All right, but feel free to ask any questions. And naturally, all this will come to light as your samadhi power increases. This is why we stress training you on, helping you on developing samadhi power. Buddhism is not learned by words. Buddhism is to be penetrated by your wisdom. And wisdom is only activated through your samadhi. And therefore, as at each level of samadhi where you are, you can only penetrate so much. And there's no way to fake it. Okay? So that's why people without samadhis, they may have read a lot of books, may have went through PhD degrees and be very famous researchers. Their understanding is only proportional to their samadhi. The depth of understanding is only is limited by their samadhi level. So that's why in our approach, we focus first on, the primary focus is to help you build your samadhi. Okay, there's a process behind it, that in our Wei Yang lineage. But at the same time, we also need to teach you, give you the proper prajna seeds. And the Avatamsaka Dharma is a Dharma of Vajra seeds. It will be there forever, okay, until they mature. And so it's a dual process with us, American Mahayana, where we emphasize developing samadhi power. At the same time, as you notice, in all our Chan classes and our training sessions, is always a lot of blood and sweat in terms of learning how to recite the Buddha's name, learning how to do Chan. And the same time, the same amount of time is that we spend on teaching you the Dharma. All right, that's the process. And it's worked very well for us the last, going on now 20 years. All right? And don't think it's just me giving it to you. I'm learning a lot from all of you the last 20 years as well. Okay. All right, we are on slide 1249, this section here. masteryonghua is teaching us about his approach to the Chan Qis and the Pure Land, the 4 Qis. And so this is a treat, let me tell you. It turns out that it's only through a great teacher at his very high level of samadhi and wisdom is he able to give us the proper perspective, the proper knowledge. And surprisingly, this morning I was preparing, this morning I was preparing for the lecture, and I discovered things that he was saying a long, long time ago. This is spoken in the 1970s, maybe, and he's true to his teachings. It's very sound fundamentals about cultivation that somehow I used. So it's a pleasure. It feels so good to know that somehow I lucked out and did the right things during my cultivation path without much guidance from anyone. And so it seems like we share the same teacher somehow. All right. And so it's good, and it's very important for me personally to be able to hear it from him again, to know that the way I've been training you, I've been teaching you, is consistent with his training style. All right, you can read it, and then we can make commentaries, and we can ask questions, and we go along, okay? Feel free to ask questions. That's our style. The more questions you ask, the more chances I have to elaborate on the Dharma and to help address your curiosity and your needs, cultivation needs. All right, and don't feel that you're too low level of a level. If it's the case, let me decide not to answer you. But feel free to ask. All right, we're trying to give you answers. All right, the year before the last Sino-American Buddhist Association, he's talking about here about that they use the whole. This is pretty intensive. According to the Shrangma Sutra, the Buddha taught that when you practice meditation, you want to meditate consecutively many days. So typically in our era, the teachers, the patriarchs teach us about meditating for 100 days. So this is a very famous Dhamma door from a Chinese Chan, where the very demanding schedule where you follow the schedule for 100 days in a row. Okay, and that's why he says here, do we have 14 consecutive weeks? What's Chan? Qi 7 weeks of chants, and very few people can participate the entire time. So it's very grinding process, the chant training, if you will. Okay, and he says very few people were able to participate in its entirety for 14 weeks, and even so, at the end, only 3 people were left. Okay, and okay, and so he's going to continue with giving us more information on how he trained his students on the Chan Dharma door. Yes, DTT. Yeah. What is your question?
마스터, 지금 진행되고 있는 화엄경 질문과는 연관이 없고 아까 하셨던 아시아 참선과 연관된 질문이라서 질문을 드리고요. 한번 끊을게요.
Master, this question is not related to Avatamsaka Sutra. Is related with Asian Chan Dharma talk.
이제 그때 마스터께서 1월 13일 법문 내용을 조금 서머리해서 정리를 해드리면 관세음보살님의 여러 서원 중에 하나가 화의 문제를 해결해 주신다. 관세음보살 그러면서 이제 그 선의 관점에서 화를 떨어뜨리고 화에 포커싱 되어 있는 것을 시점을 이동시킨다. 그렇게 참성 법문과 연관돼서 관세음보살 연보를 설명해 주셨었어요. 네.
January 14, you talked about the Guan Yin Bosal's vow, and then one of the vow is to about the anger problems. He solved the anger problem, so she changed the focus from the anger to the other direction.
네, 그래서 마스터께서 그때 뭐라고 말씀하셨냐면 대세지보살, 아미타불, 월광보살, 일광보살 다 괜찮지만 관세음보살의 서원이 화의 문제를 해결해 주는 거기 때문에 특별히 관세음보살 연불로 설명을 했다라고 하셨었어요. 네.
There are several bodhisattvas, such as Great Strength Bodhisattva, and then Amitabha Buddha, and the Sun Bodhisattva. But among them, the Guanxin Buddha, her vow is to solve the problem.
이제 질문은 뭐냐면 저는 매닉이 있고 저는 화의 문제를 가지고 있는데 제가 감정적으로 관세음보살님을 존경은 하지만 좋아하지 않는 상태거든요. 네.
I have a manic problem and anger problem, but I respect the Guan Yin Buddha, but I don't have emotionally attached to the Guan Yin Buddha.
그래서 제가 질문하는 거는 마스터께서 관세음보살 연보를 하라고 하셔서 제가 하고는 있는데 제가 그렇게 존경하긴 하지만 좋아하지 않다 보니까 연보를 하는 게 힘들고 그래서 지금 상황에서 그냥 제가 좋아하는 대세지보살님이나 약사부처님을 그렇게 연보를 하는 게 어떤지 물론 저는 화의 문제가 있고 인스트럭션을 수행해야 되기 때문에 질문을 드립니다.
Master told me to recite the Guan Yin Buddha, but I respect her, but I don't like her. So, but I like Great Strength Bodhisattva and then Medicine Master Buddha. So, can I recite those names? Of course, I have a problem with anger, and then I need to follow your instruction. So, I want to ask you.
The only problem you're going to have is that even though you don't like Guan Yin Bodhisattva, she still likes you. So when you recite her name, you get responses. However, if you recite Great Strength Bodhisattva's name and Medicine Master Buddha's name, they may not like you at all. If such is the case, what do you want to do?
마스터, 저는 정말 화해 문제를 해결하고 싶고 관세음보살을 해보겠습니다.
I really want to solve the anger problem, so I will recite the Guanyin Busa.
You see, that's precisely the point. The point here is that I cannot decide for you it's okay for you to skip One Yin Bodhisattva and recite Great Strength Bodhisattva because that's not how the Dharma was taught to us. The Dharma here was taught to us by Shakyamuni Buddha. He's our fundamental teacher. And he taught us that in order for you, if you want to deal with your stupidity, your anger, your greed, okay, then the best way for you, that includes you, is to recite One Yin Bodhisattva's name. And there you are as your typical self. He says, I don't like it. Can I do it differently? Yeah, you can do it differently. You're free to do whatever you want. But don't expect the same results. I think I got the impression you want me to tell you it's okay to do, not to recite One Yin's name and it has the same results. You know what Great Strength Bodhisattva does? You don't, do you? And you like him. Whatever he does is what he does. But his time, he specializes in helping living beings address all the types of issues, among which is manic people and depressed people. But it's not what he specializes in doing. Whereas One Yin Bodhisattva says there's many ills and problems in the world. I will specialize in helping you, in particular, you, Saha world people, with your anger, your greed, and your stupidity.
마스터, 제가 알고 있는 대세지보살님에 대한 정보는 어떤 특정한 문제가 있었을 때 그 문제를 해결해 주신다라고 들었고, 제가 그 법문을 통해서 어떤 생각이 들었냐면 어떤 구체적으로 사업이라든지 어떤 이렇게 특정적인 문제가 있을 때 대세지보살님께 기도를 해야 되겠다라고 하는 게 제가 알고 있는 대세지보살님에 대한 정보의 전부입니다. 네.
As far as I know, that Great Strength Bodhisattva, he helps solve the problem. So if I have a problem in the business or any particular problem, I think it's okay to pray to him.
Who told you? It's not explained anywhere. Where do you get that information?
마스터, 제가 잘못된 기억을 갖고 있을 수는 있긴 하지만 마스터께서 법문에서 말씀하셨습니다.
I did.
Maybe my memory was wrong, but I remember you mentioned in your Dharma talk.
That's correct. I mentioned it, but not the way you remember. Great Strength Bodhisattva specializes in troubleshooting. I'm impressed that you remember all the things I told you, but somehow you distort them a little bit. Okay, Great Strength Bodhisattva, from what I know, okay, is that he specializes in troubleshooting problems. Meaning there's a problem that's very difficult to solve. Okay, and then he'll come and he'll figure out how to fix it. But what kind of problems? The problems usually are associated with people who practice One Yin Bodhisattva's Dharma door or Amitabha Buddha's Dharma doors. So he says, You know, sometimes these people encounter problems that Guanyin Bodhisattva doesn't have time to deal with. Amitabha Buddha doesn't have that time to deal with. Instead of me teaching them more Dharma doors, what I do is I assist them in cultivation the other Dharma doors. For example, in a Shrangama... Fix it. Xin. It's an interference. Fix it. So in the Shrangama Sutra, the chapter where they asked 25 sages about which Dharma door is ideal for what he uses to become enlightened. A great strength Bodhisattva Dharma door is that of reciting the Buddha's name. It's very telling right there for you that he's not here to teach us new Dharma doors. He says there's plenty of Dharma doors that the other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have been teaching all of you. They work very well for you. I'm not going to confuse you anymore. For me, I will recite the Buddha's name. Okay? So you see, great strength Bodhisattva will help you cultivate any Dharma door that you want, especially those who want to go to the Pure Land. Okay? My point being, to cut the story short, is that you have to be less so independently minded. You should be grateful that you taught the Dharma door to address your manic issue. You get angry and you blame people. And you can, if you know that's a problem, then there's one Dharma door that the Saha world practitioners are taught is to use Guanyin Bodhisattva. You are not enlightened yet. It's meant to tell you that if you're not enlightened yet, it's probably the best Dharma door for you to practice, to deal with the issue, and will help you become enlightened. Who are you to decide that I don't like Guanyin Bodhisattva? You know, if you have that kind of attitude, Guanyin Bodhisattva, I don't want you to recite my name either. Vietnamese means không thèm. I don't like you anymore. Okay? Don't be stupid. Just recite. Just because you like or don't like, it doesn't matter. Be grateful that there's a way that you learn or you taught to deal with your problems. And there's the best way possible for you, given your conditions. After you become enlightened, it doesn't matter. You can recite Guanyin Bodhisattva, you can recite Medicine Master Buddha, you can recite Great Strength Bodhisattva. Okay? But until then, you're better off reciting Guanyin's name. Good luck to you.
그래서 이제 제가 감사가 부족한지는 법문 끝나고 돌아볼 거고요. 제가 이제 질문한 거를 이제 뭐 학교 장면에서 비유하면 전공 교수가 A라는 교수가 전공 교수인지는 알겠는데 감정적으로 B 교수가 더 좋은 거죠. 그리고 B 교수 수업을 들었을 때 좀 더 로열티가 있고 좀 더 열심히 할 수 있을 것 같은데 전공 교수는 A인 거죠. 그러니까 A 교수가 관세음보살님이라서 제가 갈등에 더 질문드린 거고 감사 부분에 대해서는 제가 좀 더 돌아보고 참여하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
I look back myself about the gratitude after the lecture, and then I repent. So more explanation of it's like there is a major professor specialized in some area is Professor A, but I like more the other professor B. So if I study with B, then I think I can study more, and then I can. So that's why I ask this question.
You're free to do as you please. Okay? No one is forcing you. All right, 8. Is there a question or point here?
There's a question on YouTube. It's from Tui. Amitofa Master. I remember listening to one of your older Dharma talks, and you mentioned that we need to release or denounce our precepts if we return to lay life. When I returned to lay life after taking Bhikshuni precepts, I did not do anything special to release and let go of my Bhikshuni precepts. Can you please offer guidance on what I need to do now?
We need to release them.
How?
No one taught you? Oh my God. Let's talk to her privately. It's not something, this is about precepts for bhikshus and bhikshunis. I don't want to speak to make it public information. So contact the abbot of the temple. She can help you. Okay? All right. Anything else? All right. So going back to slide 1249. So the year before, in 1970-71, he held a Chan session for 100 days. This is what kind of brutal for the Americans, for the people here. In China, maybe they have the tradition, but Master Xinhua chose to do the hard way. And the end of the session, 3 people left. Now, the following day, in 1971-72, he cut it short to 3 weeks, from 14 weeks to 3 weeks, and then a Buddha recitation session, you see? So the response wasn't great, but this is Chan master, you see? They can't care less about you like it or not. The objective is to train you. And it's not about popularity contests that they need to fill up the Buddha halls and the Chan halls and so forth. They're trying to train people and transfer the Chan knowledge to people. They can't care less about whether the Chan hall is full or not, or the Chan Chi have a lot of people attend or not. Okay, and so, but that's what he adjusted. 1250. Further, he said there are a good number of people who believe in the Buddha Dharma here. That's compliments of a lot of Buddhist teachers, primarily Hinayana teachers and some Mahayana teachers, but primarily Buddhism is more popular in the U.S. and in the Western world. The only kind that's real, have a bigger following, is Hinayana Buddhism. Okay, but what he says here, very few people truly understand it. Okay, and it can be interpreted as even the teachers who teach Hinayana Buddhism, and for sure the Mahayana teachers, very few people understand it at all. All right, that's a fact. And why does he say that? He says this not in the spirit, not with the intention to belittle or criticize the other teachers. It's about speaking the facts, stating the facts. The teachers, the Chan teachers, are never afraid to state the facts. Whether they're going to be misconstrued, misinterpreted, and distorted, it doesn't matter. Okay, the facts need to be spoken, and it's up to you to decide how to use the information. Okay, so what he says here is very, very damning for a lot of Buddhist teachers back then. Okay, and believe me, Master Xinhua is beyond seeking fame and recognition. He's beyond trying to embarrass or belittle the other teachers at all. Okay, we're all the same part of the Sangha. We're all doing our parts. However, he said that is in order to save you time. Some of you who have enough blessings, you hear it and say, then this is what I'm going to do. So those of you who do not have enough blessing would say, he's just a small Thai monk who has so few followers, no money at all, can't even speak English, and therefore he's just speaking nonsense. It's okay too. Okay, it doesn't matter, but the facts have to be spoken, whether you like it or not. And he says very few people understand the Buddha Dharma, and what he means that very few people appreciate the real Buddha Dharma, the profound Buddha Dharma. You like superficial things. You like things that sounds good to you and that you don't understand at all. Whereas these people, the few people who came to his temple, were searching for something that the other teachers cannot give them. Okay, and that's why his sessions, his teas were attended by a very small number of people. Okay, and not that because all of them were able to understand and follow Master Shinhua's teachings. It's because these people have some blessings, Mahayana blessings in the past. That's why they became interested in learning about this Mahayana Buddhism that provided a kind of depth to them that they really enjoy, they really appreciate. Okay, and he says real Buddhist disciples are the ones who have these, what they call real Buddhist disciples. He makes it analogy as a gold. Okay, the real value there, real precious things in our world, and that's real Buddhist disciples who appreciate Mahayana. And it is not kissing up to you. It's a fact. Gold is appreciated by the people in the know. Okay? If you don't know, you don't appreciate gold, it's okay. Gold is still gold, whether you like it or not, whether you have it or not. Gold is still there. It's of value to the entire system here. You see, it's the same with the disciples who really, really, truly understand Mahayana. Okay? Not simply people who can regurgitate the words, but actually it's these Mahayana principles, Mahayana teachings actually are part of your makeup, part of your psyche. Okay? And it's simply waiting for the opportunity to blossom, if you will, and reveal yourself as true gold. And so people like Master Shinhua can recognize these people already. And he says, there aren't many of you, because most of you are like gravel and sands. Most of you are not gold. He didn't say it, but that's what he means here. He's not simply referring to the people who didn't show up, but also the people who showed up who are not real gold. Okay? And so this is where I differ from him. Okay? I differ from Master Shinhua in the sense I look at all of you as gold that I can make money off. I mean, old bad old habits. Okay, yeah. And I look at you as gold to be mined. Gold needs to be mined. Gold needs to be discovered. There's a gold part inside of you that can be mined, that can be discovered. So part of my challenge is to mine the gold out of you and make the gold concentration in you become increased so that you become pure gold yourself. And that's part of cultivation. I don't subscribe to the fact you go and that's it. I believe in the fact that your goal content increases with cultivation. Okay? Anyways, that's what he said. His viewpoint is more like some of you real gold and most of everyone else is really not gold. I see everyone as gold. Okay, if I just have a chance, if you are just willing to spend the time to cultivate and give it a shot, you discover the real gold in you. It's just that you don't believe you're gold. That's your biggest problem we have. I see gold everywhere. I see money everywhere. Okay? All right? And so, but what he's saying is also true, depending on your perspective. And he says also, at the time, he's complaining now. He says, someone came very far and to participate, which is he praised that person, to go very far, but then that person ran away. Okay, it happens. People. To me, it's a wonderful thing for people to come from very far to join the session. It happened to us too. And they couldn't take the hardship. It never had to face this kind of rigor that we in our chan chis and our chis. So they couldn't take it. So they run away. That's normal. That's being human. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay? But he says, it's typical that the Chinese Chan masters, they're very strict. He said, this can't be. When you come here, you better stick to the end. You cannot run away. Okay? And this is, again, the difference between Chinese, Asian style of chi versus our American style. Okay? My attitude is that it's different. I don't expect you already to stick it to the end, okay? And my attitude is if you come to a chi, whatever you can give your all to last as long as possible is good enough, okay? Grinding is not for everyone. Not everyone, very few people, as you said, 3 people in the end. So what's the point in doing Chan Chi and serve only 3 people? I see a Chan Chi as serving every one of you. 4 Chi is serving every one of you. Okay? So that you can gain real benefits from it. Then to me, a successful Chi, whether you do it for 1 hour and then you run away and then criticize as you are a bunch of cultish people, no problem. Whatever you want to call us, whatever you think of us, doesn't matter. As long as you come and practice with us for a little bit, that makes me happy. Okay? You don't realize how much good it would do to you. When the seeds that that you plant for yourself in just being here and joining us, whether joining us being here or joining us online, it is inconceivable, let me put it that way for you. Okay, but Master Hsuan is different. He has a set of standards. Okay, so I understand where it's coming perfectly. Let me assure you, what I'm speaking, when I tell you about my stance, I know. I never ask him, but I know that he feels the same way. We're the same. Okay, we feel the same way about teaching. That's why I have no problems contradicting him at all, because the audiences are different. If he were here talking to you, he probably will echo my sentiment. He says, for you, who have a lot of blessings to be able to keep on coming like this, and hear the certain teaching dharmas and not run away, you are something else. So that's good enough. You come for half an hour, 1 day, 2 days, that's plenty good. You hear? I know he's going to say exactly the same thing. But this is for the lower level people where he needed to set the standards and says, you need to follow the rules. You have so many blessings now that I don't need to force you to follow the rules. But it would be better you do. All right? And so he says, I'm here. He says, I'm here in the U.S. to bring you the rigorous way of practice of Buddha Dharma. So let me set the standards for you. Don't quit. You need to follow the rules, okay? And you need to learn about this proper Dharma. So what he did here is he did it back then in 1970, 71 and so forth, during those Qis, to set standards for Qis, okay? For the lower level people. It's a very good thing to learn. That's what I learned. That's why I copied him. See, if you don't know how to teach, you follow the same thing he does. Okay? And that's, you stay on the safe side. Next, 1253, he says, you may find that it's very hard to study, very hard to cultivate here. Then he says, that's how it is. If you, no pain, no gain. If it's too easy, then the result you get is very minimal. But the main thing here, and it's very important, is to follow the rules. Meaning that there are certain things here you need to follow, and there you cannot violate those things. Okay? And when you violate those things, we come and talk to you two ourselves privately. You say, hey, you cannot do this because it's not good for your cultivation, and it's disruptive to the rest of the assembly. So yes, there's some rules here. And so you see, what he did back then is the same thing we're doing right now. But on the surface, we look more lax. So actually, there's certain, yes, we more lax in the sense we have few rules that we enforce, okay? But those are the same thing, the same vein. The rules that cannot be violated, because you do, then you're no longer cultivating a qi. Okay? So the rules. Okay? And what he said here is one of the rules is you cannot go after your rooms. That's a very good rule. Okay? And not be a bad thing. If you come and cultivate, we encourage you to stay in the Buddha hall as much as possible and not come back unless you need to your room, unless you need to take care of your personal needs and so forth. So it's a good thing. However, there's some of you who have some special needs, such as some of you are bipolar, and you need to be alone, okay, to release your ickiness and so forth. So there's always some exceptions where it's okay for you to go back to your room, okay? And I'm of the belief that you should try your best, and when you're too exhausted, you can go back to your room and sleep it off and recover. And when you are recovered, when you're re-energized, come back and try again. Okay? But from their Asian perspective, they insist on you toughing it out. Okay? And you can get away with that in Asia, especially in China, because they have very, very profound Chan tradition. I don't think it's feasible here in the U.S. You can't expect people to tough it out and look at death, unless you want to expose yourself to potential lawsuits. Okay, the times have changed. So you see, back then in China, it's good to see how the Chan was practiced and what it took for them to become enlightened. Okay, for us, we need to be flexible. We need to adapt it. And if we lose the fact that we force people, they expect their practitioners to tough it out and do it the Chinese, Asian way, we can make other modifications and still not lose the effectiveness of the Chan training. Once you understand why these people need to be taught how to grind it out, or they need to really push through it. There's a principle behind it, okay? That is, if you have no one to guide your Chan practice, your Buddha recitation practice, then you have to grind it out. The proper way is to grind it out, okay? But if you have someone who understands the process, what's the advantage of grinding it out? When you grind it out, what happens to you? Then that's when we become more flexible. And that's our approach. Okay? I met many people, especially at my master's temple. They're very tough. They grind it out. Okay? They can grind it out. But after these years, all these years, they grind it out day and night during the cheese. They grind it out at night when there's no cheese. 365 days a year. And you know what? After all those years, after all those decades, okay, they're getting so few benefits. They're easily surpassed by people who come here for a month, a year, when they spend decades grinding it out. You understand? If you understand the principle of training, why you need to grind it out, okay? Then you can modify the approach. And that's what we do. We chose to modify the approach. We allow you to grind it out you wish, and that's why it's funny. I remember there's a Chinese guy who used to go to Master Xu Yun's temple in China for 8 years, he claims. He went to a lot of temples. Before he came to our temple during a Chanchi. So we asked him, where are you from? He said, I've been going to Master Xu Yun's temple for the winter cheese, which is about 100 days, typically. And for 8 years, every single year without fail, he would fly from here to China, and then to do a winter cheese with them. And then during the COVID thing, they shut the temple down, so he couldn't go. So he came to our temple because we open. We're crazy. We open. We're not afraid of COVID. Actually, we beat the heck out of COVID demon. And so he came, and he was, he did what I saw at Master Xinhua's temple. Very similar kind of process. Before he sat down, you run. Okay, you run for 2 minutes in the dark. In here, you run 2 minutes, you run to a sharp corner, you get hurt, you're going to sue us. So we chose not to let you run. And the Americans would sue us, okay? And we're poor enough already. We don't need another lawsuit. Okay, so he's funny. What he's doing by his own, he look at us and says, you guys don't know how to do Chanchi. And he would run, and then he'll tough it out, whereas we sat, and then we stood up, and then you leave in the middle of the sit. And in the Chinese system, you sit down and you need to wait for the bell to ring before you can get up. You get up before that, they come over and they beat you up, okay? Yeah, another recipe for getting sued again in the U.S., okay? So you see, it's out of necessity and self-defense. We chose to modify all those things. So he's funny. He was observing, adhering to all the Chinese practices. And after the whole qi was over, okay? He's the most vigorous amongst us. And he looked at us and said, you guys are so weak, you can't even do a real qi like us Chinese people. And I looked at him and said, oh wow, after all this time, you got so little out of the Chan Qi, whereas our people, they're goofing off when they go and do things and go eat and and gossip with their friends during lunch and so forth. And they improve so much more than you. You see? So as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what you do as long as you improve. I'm happy. You don't improve, that's why what's the matter with you? All right? Anyway, Master Shinhua's rule, you cannot go back to your room. Okay? Yeah. Next. And then he talked about he has 2 groups of people he sent to Taiwan for full ordination. The year before, the group of 5, then this group here, this year, that year, the following year, subsequent year is another group of, monks and nuns go. And they can come back, and Master Shinhua says, it's our problem with these people. You see, it's very difficult. The monk and nun lifestyles. So you look at them and says, boy, you're not going to last. So he felt like, should I tell you that, let's be blunt, should you want to return to lay life? It's not the kind of life you're looking for, is it? No. And one rule he says is that you, Americans, used to have so much liberties. Here, after you become a left-home person, you cannot go off to your room anytime you feel like, or stay in your room without being excused. Okay? So he had these rules. You violate these rules, maybe you should return to lay life. And now it's frozen. Okay. For us, you can go to your room and get some rest. Once you try your all, give it your all, and try your best. But for these, for him, he says, you guys are too loose. You so used to your freedom, so you do as you please. You should know that for a left-home person, you need, after you become fully ordained, you need to study for 5 years before you have more freedom. Okay? And in particular, this is a rule of thumb in the Sangha world. In China, 10 years is the first significant milestone. And you called junior seated Sangha. After 20 years, you're intermediate seated, and after 30 years, you're senior seated. Okay? And so that's why the more seniority you have, the more latitude you have, more freedom you have. Okay? Again, this is why I differ with them as well, in that this is for the average. I don't see you as average. It's like you take a mold of this averaging everyone and try to fit everyone into it. That's not American. We American are a lot more flexible, a lot more how shall I say it, deliberate, if you will. Okay, so I don't look at 10 years, I don't look at 20 years, I look at 30 years. It's just a number. There are a lot of people who just loaf around and just follow the rules on the surface for 30 years, and they have no wisdom whatsoever. I told you, this monk here in Master Shenhua's system, he has 30 years. I look at him and said, after 30 years, this is all you got? My God, my disciple reached your level in 2 years. That was back then in Lu Mountain Temple, where we were a lot slower. We didn't have the sudden Dharma. In 2 years, we reached the same level as someone who's 30 years. Now you tell me, I'm supposed to respect someone simply based on the fact that they have 30 years of Dharma practice? It's not how it works in my world. My world is that it's about performance. You are Sangha, you're supposed to do some things with your life. If you do, you're able to do, then I respect you. If you don't have any skills, then you should know your place. Okay? Seniority means very little to me. Yes, out there, when I go to another temple or go to in general, I follow the rules that's established by these traditions. But for us here internally, okay, I place you based on your samadhi and your wisdom level and how much you can contribute to our assembly. I can't care less about seniority. And especially nowadays, we have so much more good results from the certain Dharma. The certain teaching doesn't depend on 10 years. Okay, it's irrelevant. Certain teaching, one snap a finger, you become enlightened. Okay? Yeah. So anyway, so he says, this is the tradition in Buddhism. There's seniority, and you need to respect seniority. There's a reason for that, by the way. When you respect seniority, they're tested by time. It's a test of time, where the longer you stick around, the more blessings you accrue, number one. Number two, the more virtues you have. That's why the seniority matters. Because people usually give up, they quit because they can't take it. Don't have what it takes. You see, so my system, our system here, is not based on seniority. Seniority is only number two. The first one is wisdom and virtues. What's virtues? Virtue is no jealousy. Virtue is being happy that others are better than you, happy for them. Virtue is say, you're better than me today, but I'm going to work harder so that one day I will be better than you. That's virtues. Okay? That's, to me, that's what really matters. Your wisdom and your virtues. Okay. So he says here, even though it's difficult, but he's setting a very high standards. He says at the time he had about a dozen people, and it's a very difficult thing to do, let me assure you. Because these people, the kinds of monks and nuns he had, seriously? I said, this is all you got? That's all you can come up with? Okay, 12 of them. I remember my first 12. Oh my God. Are they still here? I think most of them left already. Okay, and so he says, even though, and this is between parentheses, even though these people are not the best, okay, they have a lot of issues, but it does not detract from the fact that this is a place of the proper Dharma eye treasury. This is a gold mine. This is where you go and find gold. You come and find gold. And you can pan for gold, you can mine for gold, your own gold. Okay? So that's what the Mahayana temples are supposed to be, to do. See, again, I see this as his reminding me and the future generations of why, of our raison d'être, the reason for our existence. Raison d'être is French. Raison is a reason, very similar to reason, the same Latin origin. Raison, reason. D'être is to be, the reason to be. The reason for our existence is to be the proper Dharma eye treasury. This is where you find treasures. Okay? What treasures? Others. People who look for wives, plenty of great women. Looking for husbands, plenty of great men. But that's small treasures. Bigger treasures are your wisdom. The goodness in your heart, your ability. You have so much goodness in your heart that's being fine-tuned, so being purified so that you can do a ton of good for everyone, your family, your friends, your communities, your companies, everyone. Okay? That's why we store all the goodnesses. And we mine all the goodnesses. And you all should be bhikshus, monks and nuns of the proper Dharma eye treasury. And it's a treasury, not storage. And this is something of value. Okay? And that's why he says, you should keep this in mind of your raison d'être, your reason for existence. Okay, it's not, what you're doing is not to be comfortable and to serve your selfish needs. It's much bigger than that. It's a treasure here that we're helping you mine for yourself. And eventually, when your time comes, help others mine theirs as well. Okay? It's for real. It's not BS. It's not a sales pitch. It's not a scam. Okay? And Master Shenhua created a track record, and he started in the late 60s, early 70s, and he set the standards for the Sangha, how to train the Sangha. Okay? So he says he seems to be obsessed about these new group of people who seem to be very weak. That's why he said, do you want to return to lay life? Because after you become a Sanghan, it's much harder. The training gets harder. That's why he called bitter precepts. It's not the same kind of precepts that you receive in Taiwan in a typical ceremony. What we do here is to teach you the bitter precepts. And eventually he'll explain why. Okay. Okay, right there in 1258. That's what I wanted to come to this so badly tonight. Now I'm happy. Okay? He says, why is it called bitter precepts? Bottom line is that you can make excuses, you can explain this, explain that. This is bottom line. Benefits, cultivation benefits are only obtained within suffering and difficulties. That's the truth. So allow me to take this opportunity to talk to you. You want to cultivate as a layperson, as a left-home people, same thing. You can only get real benefits by enduring suffering and difficulties. That's the only way. I'm adding it for you. That's the only way. How much time do you have left? Look at you. Look in the mirror. How old are you? Hey, Sage, little Sage, how old are you? Except for Sage. I ask the rest of you, how old are you? How much more time you think you have? Whatever you tell me, it ain't enough. 2? Show me the fingers again. 5? All right. Hey girl, you have plenty of time. Take it easy, huh? Have fun. Be happy. But the rest of you adults, how much more time do you think you have? How much more time do you think I have to spend with you? Okay? So that's why in our brand of American Mahayana, this is what he says. You must suffer. You must face difficulties. It's not supposed to be easy. Don't be such a wimp or a loser. I like to call them losers. When it's too difficult, they run away. They say, oh my God, this is too difficult. Why do you have to do this? You have to do this if you want to get some real benefits. You don't want to get real benefits? You don't need to change. You can do the same thing you've been doing. And you will die sick with a sick body. Most of you will die sick. Most of you will die with a broken heart, okay, broken body. And most of you will fall to the hells, will fall to the lower realms. That's what the Buddha says. I'm not giving you a curse at all. Trust me. This is common Buddhist knowledge, including, what's her name again? Francis. she mostly likely will fall to, lower realms. I look at her, probably animal. Okay? That's the least of the suffering. Okay? And what benefits are we talking about? Benefits of what's important to you, what everyone is seeking for. Happiness, true love, fun, joy, true joy. You think the cultivation is only suffering? If it's only suffering, it's only difficulties, I'd be the first one to quit. Huh? Do I look that stupid to you? Don't answer that, Patricia. Okay? These people, it's so Chinese. They said, you need to suffer, you need to face difficulties. But they're so pure. They said, you need to do that. And most of the Chinese will run away, and only a small handful of Chinese are left, and they become enlightened, they become patriarch, they become big monks and nuns and so forth. For us, we don't have that many of you. We don't have 1 million people we can discard. We have how many of you? 15 people here tonight? 10, 15, 17, 18 including me. And Sage is 19. See, and back there is 20. We have 20 people only. We can't discard that many of you. You see? Yeah. So we need to make the best out of you, best of all of you. And that's why we tell you about spell out the benefits for you, okay, to encourage you to understand that the reason why is very much like if you want to become a millionaire in this country, you have to make a lot of sacrifices. Sacrifice your body, sacrifice your personal life, sacrifice your money, sacrifice your health in order to make it and become a millionaire. Billionaire is even worse. And trillionaire, like Elon Musk, will become very soon. Okay? As soon as our president is done, I'm sure that Elon will become a trillionaire. He'll own all of us. Okay? And so these are the real benefits, not just these worldly benefits that people will only make people suffer. Real benefits are that will really benefit you, okay, in all aspects. Okay, so he explains. During a chanchi, you sit, it hurts, okay, and you can't take it, you unlock and you unbuckle. You absolutely will not be able to obtain samadhi. It is minced words. He says, you need to endure the leg pains. Because by enduring leg pains, you're building samadhi power. Let me reinterpret that for you. That's what we've been teaching all these years. Just because the people here are so weak, they complain, oh, it hurts so much. We have to find ways to encourage them to endure more and more. That's how we develop our style of teaching. But them Chinese people, they have a strong tradition, long time tradition, and that's why they can simply say, hey, endure it, shut up. Like I go to Korea, the Koreans are so used to taking crap and working hard that when we tell them, would you like to take a break after 2 hours? Why? We said to make them practice all day. They said, this is so light. Okay, so different cultures, different expectations, but you need to endure. It's not just leg pains. I forgot to tell the Koreans. What do Koreans need to endure? Koreans, hey, what do you need to endure, you think, all the time you've been coming to our temple? What do you need to endure? I gave you a tip already, darn it. Don't translate that. What do you need to endure? They think that, the Koreans think, it's ours, how hard it is, how tough it is. No. The enduring here is to endure things that you cannot endure. Meaning what? What can you not endure? Who? Yeah? What? Jumi is one. At first, people used to complain to me so much about Jumi. And now, they don't complain anymore. Say, it's just Jumi. You see? So, the difficulties here is not physical. It's also psychological. It's also intellectual. There are lots of things you need to endure in order to reap real benefits. My boys here, I make them endure walking behind a woman. And the monks can't take it. They say, like Jung-in, he says, I'm going to walk behind a woman? I'm a Korean man. You know what it means? I'm better than women. I said, no, you're not. So you have to endure, because you're not as good as a woman who walks in front of you. It's a reminder of you that you're so mediocre that someone is better than you. And you have to endure it. See, that's what it means. Within suffering, because your ego really suffers, and it's difficult to endure. I would never walk behind a woman, by the way. Because I'm the boss. I don't have to endure anymore. I endure you. Isn't that enough? God, you are so much more difficult than walking behind a woman, let me tell you. And the people say, I don't like walking behind a woman. He sits in front of me, she stands in front of me, and I have more seniority, and so forth. Quit. And then when you come back, you have no more seniority. What do I care? Okay? You endure it. Okay? And that's nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet about enduring suffering, enduring difficulties. Okay? And that's why I love teaching sitting in full lotus. But the Koreans, it doesn't work with them. They're too tough. But I have no worries. We find ways to make them endure more things. Okay? I have 5 more minutes. So, 12:59, and this is a favorite line from Master Shinhua. Everything is assessed to see what you're going to do. If you don't recognize what's before you, you have to start from square one again. Okay? Meaning that friendly warning. We may be laughing, we may be smiling, we may be so loose, wishy-washy, but it's a test. You have to be on your toes. Meaning you can relax, but be on your toes at the same time. never mind. All right, any questions? Okay, that's the next section. I don't want to go this next section. Okay? Any questions, comments? It's amazing how he speaks about these principles of cultivation in a very casual way to these people. You know, the funny thing is that they got so much out of it, his disciples. But when it's time for them to teach, they don't teach them this way anymore. When it's too hard, people complain it's too hard. They say, okay. So you can walk in front of women again. Now our women have to endure you. It works both ways for me. When someday any of you says, I refuse to walk behind a woman, I say, okay, you walk in front of a woman. You can walk in front of me already. What do I care? I will endure you. Okay? Yeah. Jung-yin, would you like to no longer walk behind women?
인내하고 열심히 하겠습니다.
I'll endure and I practice hard.
Now I explain to him, he no longer complains. But he's seething. He says, I'm a man. You know, Korean men, we don't walk behind Korean women. When here in America, he says it's normal because we are American, we lose, we're crazy. But in Korea, we don't do that in Korea. It makes me less of a Korean man. It's amazing how you Koreans change. When you're here in the US, we like docile, very obedient. You go back to Korea, his true self comes out. I ain't walking behind no Korean woman, no Korean nun. So what did I do? Made him walk behind a Korean nun. It looks still okay. Are you still angry? Jung-in Sunim? I bet you he was seething when I told him, from now on you should walk behind, the other nun. I said, did you think of quitting? Go back to your master's temple? You see, it did cross his mind. Look at him. Say it's true. Yes? Look at him.
Yes.
He said, I go where I really appreciate. My master loves me instead of abusing me. Make me walk behind someone who's a woman. God. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad you're still here. Hang in there, kid. Really, I was expecting him to quit. I failed again. Oh, what the heck.